How do everyone? Today I'm focusing on the latest grooming gang report. This report covers the period starting in 2004 to 2013, and it's a third phase of a four-phase investigation. Now I'm pretty sure at this point everyone here is already fully aware of the scandal that's happened. It has been all over the news. It's been going on for many years. I don't think I really need to do much of an introduction in that regard. That being of the obviously being of the underage, but predominantly Anglo-Saxon working class white girls being raped by Pakistani, Bangladeshi, Muslim men. But we also need to remember that these girls aren't the only victims, and there were girls from other minority backgrounds as well. I also got to say, I suppose, that these girls weren't just raped, but they were also pimped, drugged, beaten, some of them murdered. They had to engage in all sorts of horrific things. So this isn't just regular crime that we're talking about here. And as I've already said, but I'll bring it up again, we must remember the girls from the other communities as well, because they are just as important as the white girls that were raped. So let us not just focus on one specific group, but focus on all the victims and get justice for all of them. All these children need justice from these perverts. Now, I'm not going to go through the report in chronological order, and I'm not going to read it all out to you either. But what I'm aiming to do is pre-read chapters one at a time and report to you bits that I find and feel are important, and to highlight and maybe give my own opinions on. I'll link the full report below, so if you wish, you can read through it, but do be warned. It doesn't make for comfortable reading, so consider doing so carefully. Once you've learned what's in there, you can't unlearn it, so please be pre-warned on that. It may not be nice reading. And I haven't read through all the report at this point. I've only read through one chapter, so I can't comment on the entire report itself, on what the other parts. The report that I'm focusing on today is more about really what is called the Sunrise Team. Well, I'll get over that now anyway. So the chapter I'll be covering today is chapter 6, and it covers from January to December 2008 to 2010, and focuses in on the Sunrise Team, which is at Rochdale. So who are the Sunrise Team? Simply put, and I quote, a specialist multi-agency child sexual exploitation team, which is CSE, and was first appointed by Rochdale LSCB, and that's the local Safeguarding Children's Board. This was started in 2008, although it's got to be said the funding wasn't even sorted out and didn't commence until April 2009. So even though this process started at the beginning of 2008, it wasn't until April 2009 that funding even started. A social worker didn't start until the end of 2009, December 2009. So for nearly 2 full years, there was no social worker. The social worker also had a substantial caseload given to them by Child Social Care. Now, I'm not criticising Child Social Care there. They obviously have their own concerns that they need to crack on with. But it is quite wrong, really, that the social worker was given dual responsibilities. I don't feel that should have happened. And 2 times police specialists were also supposed to be supplied by the local police, but weren't. And eventually a police constable, who was referred to as Constable A, was attached. The police didn't felt it that those specialist constable police officers, so we're talking child protection specialist officers, like family liaison style officer type people, I think the detectives as well, so they are quite high up, they felt they would have been better use elsewhere. That's for the police to decide, obviously, and I think they made the wrong choice there. So we are already off to a bad start with this anyway, aren't we? To be absolutely fair to the assigned copper, he did highlight historical reports made by Child 44 and got other detectives involved. This officer did actually get a full process on the go. He did, well, I say he, I don't even know if it was a man or a woman, it's just Constable A, but I'll just refer to the officer as he, statistically speaking, that's most likely. He did report, he went through historical records involving social services, from what I can tell, did a fantastic job in and of himself. Like I say, got other detectives on board, tried to get a team together, tried to get it all built, and then GMP failed to make resources available. So it was GMP who essentially pulled the plug on that without pulling the plug on it, so to speak. And this is just the recurring theme that we've heard through these cases for many years was the police basically reallocating funds, taking funding away, stop putting hurdles in the way, obfuscating the whole process, and the children were effectively left abandoned, to these nonces. Even though 60 men had been identified by Officer A as well, Constable A, sorry. And GMP eventually putting in what's known as an MIT, which is a major incident team, into effect in December 2010. Now that's nearly 3 full years, almost 3 full complete years since the Sunrise Team project had actually been first started in principle as a project. I mean, that's absolutely wild that these crimes were going on. And I'm not going to go into the more this is a basic overview. It does go into much more detail in the report. It gives a lot of quotes, a lot of messages. The police were fully aware of what was going on. Restaurants had been highlighted, groups of men had been identified by this Constable A. This wasn't it wasn't like he only had a basic understanding. He had very detailed understanding of what was going on here. Now, it must be said, when reading through the detailed notes, it seems the police were fully aware, as I just said, of the situation and possible consequences, with one saying, if it is discovered that this is continuing unchecked and unchallenged in Rochdale, possibility of a media-induced backlash. Now, I've spoken in previous videos of this mindset, not only in the police, but also prevailing in intelligence services, and I think in politics actually, and maybe even in the media. I get that feeling from the media, being more concerned about containment of the general public backlash. And like we saw in the early 2000s, I think it was 2001, where it was the Oldham race riots, and they were deemed to have been stoked around racism because at that point all this sort of crime was hidden and buried still. I think now, if we look back at the Oldham race riots, and they did go into a couple of other towns in the sort of area of Oldham, I think we'll probably find that actually they were more driven by these kind of crimes happening. And it was also what led to the rise of the EDL as well. And again, the media, straight away, as soon as the EDL came out, and Tommy Robinson, the media and the government and the police, everybody were all over him, saying they were a bunch of Nazis basically, and they were far right. And this seems to have been a recurring theme through me. This is me remembering, not in this actual report, but just through the entire process of this effective gaslighting that's been happening about these very specific crimes against predominantly white working class Anglo-Saxon girls, but also obviously victims from other communities as well. And it really seemed that the police are more concerned about preventing riots than stopping the actual issue at the source, which would be the sensible thing to do, in my personal opinion. If you don't want people to riot, well, get rid of the problem that's causing the riots. As I say, I'll put the link to the article below. If you want, do read through it. That's chapter 6, page 73 to 78, I think are the pages for that. There are a lot of to-ing and fro-ing. It's very obvious that the police knew what was going on, and my personal opinion is that they were more concerned about trying to put a lid on this and trying to contain it, rather than actually trying to deal with it in a professional manner, and even holding the hands up and saying, "Oh, this has got out of control and we're going to deal with it now." I hope that's given you something to think about. It is quite shocking, really, what's going on. The amount of failure that was going on, not funding, not organising, not even sticking to the initial agreements with the Rochdale team that was supposed to have been done, where they were supposed to be getting 2 specialist specialist officers, and instead they got a constable. And hats off to that constable. He or she does appear to have done a fantastic job, but again have been failed by the hierarchy at GMP. Just an absolute utter failure, and I do think treason charges should be brought, and I think we need to reinstate the death penalty for some of these people who have massively failed these kids. It's disgusting, absolutely disgusting. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Only a short video. I'll probably be doing the rest of this report at different points in a scripted short form like this. Anyway, I'll take care now. Bye bye.